Hey everyone, Jennifer Lee Chan here from NBC Sports Bay Area. Kind of a big day Wednesday before traveling to Buffalo on Friday for the 49ers. Good news, Dre Greenlaw was back on the field, catching passes, running around. He was in a limited fashion, but they did open his window and he was right back on the field. Bigger news, though, is that Fred Warner has been playing with a fractured ankle since he injured it in week 4. So we've been talking all this time about how Fred Warner has had like a Hall of Fame type first 5 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks in the season. And then he had the ankle injury. He was only on the injury report for 2 weeks. He missed 2 practices. He did not miss any games. He's been dealing with a fractured ankle. He's been getting shot up every game before each game to ease the pain. But that's why he's been going out there and not playing like himself. So there were a couple followers who said to me, "Hey, it's Fred Warner's been different since the ankle injury." And I was like, "But he hasn't been on the injury report." Well, you're right. I was wrong. He wasn't on the injury report, but he's been dealing with a fractured ankle since sometime in the week 4 game. I think it was on a punt return when they were worried about whether it was going to be a fake punt or not. Um, Also, not great news. Brock Purdy did not throw in Wednesday's practice. He said he did some light throwing on Monday. That's what Kyle Shanahan said during the conference call on Tuesday, completely off. Wednesday, he was out there with the running backs through one short pass to Kyle Juszczyk, one short pass to a 49ers trainer. So he was out there going through the foot motions, but he did not throw at all when we were out there. Now we stay out there until period 4 is over, about 25 minutes. After that, they go into team drills. So we did not see whether he threw at all during that. But generally, if he's going to throw in practice, he's throwing during the warmups. So don't know that Brock Purdy is going to be back for Sunday's game. Also, not practicing, Nick Bosa. We spoke to him and kind of asked him how he was doing. He said he's not going to practice probably at all this week in team drills. Maybe he'll start to practice during doing some individual work, but he won't be doing any team drills at all. He said the cold, the turf, because it's not real grass in Buffalo, so the turf will not affect his injury. It's just how he feels. So he'll go through the week, see how he feels, but the rest has helped him a lot. He is improving, which is a good thing. So if he's not back for the Buffalo game, he should be back for the next week, which is that home game against the Chicago Bears. Um, Also not practicing, Trent Williams. Trent Williams was using a scooter to get around the locker room. I don't think he plays in Buffalo either. He cannot put weight, or he has not been putting weight on that ankle that has been hurting him, that kept him out of the game in Green Bay. So I just don't think he plays either. Now, this offensive line is decimated. Aaron Banks is in the concussion protocol. Dominic Puni also did not practice for the shoulder. Um, so actually, sorry, he was limited. Dominic Puni was limited with the shoulder, but he said he'll be okay. But if Aaron Banks is not in the concussion protocol, is still in the concussion protocol, and Trent Williams is out, that is two on the left side. And if Dominic Puni can't make it back where he can play, or he's not healthy enough to play well with the shoulder, that's three of your offensive linemen. So Jalen Moore could get another start. Um, but this offensive line against the Buffalo Bills could be a little tough. Christian McCaffrey did not practice, but that's for rest. And also Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles knee. He did not practice. That may be something that keeps him out. He's a good special teamer. Limited today at practice. Kevin Givens, which is good. He's been dealing with a groin injury. He's been out for several weeks. He could be back to kind of help fortify the interior of that defensive line to stop the run. Renato Green, limited with a neck injury. He's been feeling okay. I did see him in the locker room. Good to see Dre Greenlaw back. Brock Purdy, I just don't think he makes it back. Full go, Jacob Cowing. He is out of the concussion protocol, which is a good thing. I did speak to Charvarius Ward today, and he just not saying that he could be himself at this point, but still just emotionally not himself, of course. It's going to take a long time for him to kind of come back from the loss of his daughter, Amani Joy, who was just not even 2 years old yet. So I did talk to him just briefly, just to give him my condolences, but you can tell he is not even close to being himself yet. So that's a tough one. A lot of injuries for this game. We'll kind of get the injury report tomorrow, which is Thursday. No media access at all, but it is a full day for the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan said he's going to try and get them out a little bit earlier just so they can spend time with their families. I know George Kittle had a Thanksgiving celebration at his house. He did that a little earlier. I think it was on Tuesday when they were all off. So I think that was either Tuesday or it was Monday afternoon after they went through their meetings. Um, so kind of a longer work day on Thursday for the 49ers. It's going to be interesting to see who is practicing on Thursday. It's a big practice participation kind of report that'll come out on Thursday. None of us will be there. Friday, they do have availability. A lot of us are traveling to Buffalo on Friday because the snow is supposed to come in Saturday. So I actually moved my flight from Saturday to Friday night to a red eye. Ugh. But I'm going to do that. So I'll be out there early just to make sure I don't get delayed and stuck somewhere. So it's Buffalo, artificial turf. Also, it's going to be very cold. While Dre Greenlaw is back and at practice, I don't think he plays in Sunday because of artificial turf and because it's so cold. I do think they maybe have him ready for the Chicago Bears game the next week. Um, it's going to be a tough one. I think Brandon Allen can do a good job, but Christian McCaffrey needs to get going. And he's had 43 carries for 149 yards, 3.5 yards, 3.5 yards a carry average. He's caught 13 passes for 132 yards, about 10 yards a pass, which is not bad. I talked to him today and I said, hey, Kyle Shanahan said that you just didn't get clean looks. He's like, yeah. He's like, there's been phases. He's like, every game is different. He's like, I try not to look at the statistics. He's like, it's about what the game gives you. Sometimes there are no clean lanes for him to get through. Kyle Shanahan said that there was somewhere he thought he was going to break through and he just didn't. So I looked back and he said, hey, there's been games where I've had just under 3 yards a carry. 3 yards a carry. And I did look back, and even when he was offensive player of the year, there were times where he had, there was those three games. It was Cleveland, right in that area in the season when they had those three losses in a row. I think it was Dallas, even the Dallas game where they won. Cleveland and the next one, all about 3 yards average per carry. So there are times when Christian McCaffrey is not going to be, having a 6 yard average per carry. There are going to be some times where he, breaks one and has an 80-yard run, and then that'll lift the average. There'll be other games where he won't. So he's expecting it to come sooner more than later. He says he's feeling good, he's getting better, and from what the coaches have said, it sounds like the more practice, the more reps he gets, the more he'll be able to be productive. Now, I know a lot of people have been saying, why don't you put out Jordan Mason? Why don't you put Isaac Guerrero out there? But really, Kyle Shanahan explained they're not a three-back system. They're not a two-back system, really. It's really you put your starter out there, and they do believe that Christian McCaffrey gives them the best benefit, the best chance to get yards because of what he can do, that he's a pass catcher, because the way he runs his routes, because he still churns his legs even at the first point of contact. I think the big thing from me seeing the next gen stats is that he did not have even a full yard before he was contacted on average per carry in that last game against the Green Bay Packers. They were keying in on him. He had a half a yard before he was in contact with a Green Bay Packers player. That's pretty crazy. So usually guys will have like a yard or maybe a yard and a half before they get hit. Not Christian McCaffrey in this Green Bay Packers game, zero point 0.5. It is the smallest margin that Next Gen had for the week. So he's been facing stacked boxes. He's been facing, double defenders coming at him instead of just one guy. Josh Jacobs, on the other hand, saw one defender at a time. And I think, with Fred Warner dealing with his ankle injury, it makes a huge difference. 4 missed tackles by Fred Warner. And, he's walking around during game day looking normal, but I think he's dealing with a lot of pain in that foot, which is changing the way he plays. So it's going to be a tough road for these 49ers going forward, but if they can get a win, at least in the division, they've got to win the rest of their division games. That's the big thing. If they can do that, maybe they have a chance to make it to the playoffs. But outside of that, it's going to be a tough one. All right. We should get the practice report somewhere around, I don't know, 2 or 3 o'clock, maybe a little later. We don't know their schedule because there's no media availability tomorrow. So generally when they have an East Coast game, but it is a night game, they keep everything about the same. So practice around 11 or 12. We'll maybe get the practice report around 2 or 3 if we're lucky. So we'll be staying, by the laptops, watching football and waiting to see what happens. So watching football tomorrow, eating lots of food. I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. I'll try to give you an update tomorrow once we get the practice report. All right. If you have any questions at all, leave them in the comments. Please subscribe. Please like, and thank you so much for listening. We'll give you as much as I can, information wise, as possible throughout these kind of challenging times for the 49ers. All right. More later.